I'm starting over my career to pursue filmmaking at 31 years old. My name is Janet, and I quit my job as a storyboard artist at Disney a few years ago because I absolutely hated it. This video is about why I'm deciding to pivot and go into filmmaking instead, and the progress that I've made so far. When I quit my job at Disney, I became a huge target for large YouTube channels to make a lot of money off of mocking my personal struggles. I saw all sorts of people say, "Look, this girl ruined her career. She blacklisted herself." A lot of people made up random lies about me for views. So that begs the question, why would I ever want to pursue a career in Hollywood again? And the honest answer is, I didn't. I moved to a cabin in the woods in Arizona to be left the fuck alone. I felt a lot of resentment towards social media and its tendency to build people up just to bring them down for fun, because you guys are crazy and bored. For example, Emma Chamberlain right now is currently being canceled because she said something along the lines of she doesn't think people need to go to college to be successful. As an old person, my opinion on that is a lot of young people feel personally attacked by that comment because they put themselves in student debt, and instead of internalizing and working on their own fucking issues, they want to attack a random stranger on the internet because for some reason, that is okay. I experienced a tiny fraction of what I assume Emma Chamberlain has to deal with practically on a daily basis, and all it made me do was escape to the woods and have nothing to do with how ugly people can be. But I got extremely lonely and I started turning into Jack from The Shining last winter. I didn't want that for myself, so I decided to take a class at my local college in hopes of making some friends. Honestly, I was just trying to deal with some of the social anxiety that I've developed ever since quitting my job because your girl developed some trust issues. That's kind of what happens when it feels like everyone in your previous industry and people you thought were your friends start attacking you for no goddamn reason. And by complete accident, while I was filming some stuff for homework, I started remembering that I actually really do like this. I love writing and storyboarding. I love the process of filming something. Not myself. I don't really like filming myself, but I like filming other things, and I like editing that thing and turning it into this really cool narrative thing that I can show people. And because of recent events in my personal life that I will not overshare, there was a very specific story I wanted to tell about how an average person can turn into an internet bully due to jealousy. My husband Vincent and I wrote the script over a weekend, started casting it with the goal of finishing it within a month. That's when everything started going wrong. At this point, I had maybe 3 friends, if that. I didn't really know who I could ask to act in it. We had the bright idea of going to the local theater and getting somebody's contact information. Anybody at this point. Unfortunately, nobody was willing to give us anybody's contact information. So we decided to crash an audition for a play. Am I an actor? No, I am not. Can I act? Very poorly. But you do what it fucking takes to cast your film. Did not work though. I met a few people who essentially blew me off. I feel like everyone was very suspicious of us, probably for good reason. So the next thing I tried was printing out a bunch of flyers and posting it all over the college bulletin boards. We came back a few days later and some of our posters were torn down. This is why I hate bureaucracy. I don't like that I have to ask permission just to put up posters on my college bulletin board, where in every college I've ever been to before, just lets people do that because who the fuck gives a shit? So at this point, I was getting real desperate, and being someone who has no shame, I started walking into random establishments around town asking if anybody knew anybody who was willing to act in a film. And guess what? Every single person blew me off. I somehow miraculously did find some actors willing to be in the film. Mostly people I approached on the street and asked if they wanted to do it, but most of them eventually dropped out and I had to recast days before the shoot when I had already asked certain people to take days off of work just to help me out with shooting this thing. And then I was given the runaround trying to find a goddamn classroom location to shoot at. Bureaucracy kind of got in the way and asked for money in order to get certain locations. Absolutely nobody wanted to give up their bedroom as a location for a few days of shooting. So Vincent and I tore down his music studio so that we can set design it and turn it into a bedroom. And I needed a classroom full of student extras. Again, I knew like 0 people who were willing to do that. It all culminated in the parking lot of a movie theater as we were about to watch the Barbie movie. At this point, I was tearing my hair out because of the stress of all of this and just venting. I was complaining about why is it so hard to cast actors in this town. It would be so easy if we were back in LA. I don't really understand why people are treating us this way. It somehow feels personal even though I'm sure it's not. Did I do something to piss people off? Why does it feel like absolutely nobody supports us and what we're trying to do here? And as I'm ranting and raving and just letting out all my frustrations, Vincent brought me back down to earth and asked me, doesn't this all feel really familiar? No one believes in anyone at first, not even James Cameron. There's this clip of James Cameron talking about
never give up, because it's going to be unbelievably hard. It's going to be a ridiculously brutal uphill fight all the time. And you just have to have tremendous stamina and self-confidence to power through it. And you have to not listen to the naysayers, because there will be many, and often they'll be much more qualified than you and cause you to sort of doubt yourself. But you know, what I learned from those early days was to trust my instincts and to not back off, because when the hour gets dark, your instinct is to, or your tendency might be to say, well, this is just too hard, and nobody should have to go through this in order to accomplish X, whether it's a movie or whatever, in the pursuit of excellence. And I think you can be in the pursuit of excellence when you're working on a low-budget science fiction horror film. If it's how you define it, you have to go all the way.
And as much as I needed comfort right then and there, rather than someone telling me to shut the fuck up and stop complaining, he was right. For example, before I got hired in animation, my own parents didn't believe in me. Why should perfect strangers? So I just sat there in the car thinking it through and realized it doesn't really matter why somebody doesn't believe in me. It could be because I look young, because I'm a woman, because I have no experience even though I have worked as a storyboard artist before. It could be because they think I'm a nobody and how dare she have the gall to do what she's trying to do. The reason why someone doesn't believe in you doesn't really matter. The fact is they just don't believe in you. What matters is that I persevere despite what everyone else thinks. Then Vincent said, if we decide to do this, you've experienced shitty situations at Disney before. Do you even want to experience it all again? I didn't have an answer for him. All I knew was, hell or high water, I'm making this film because I decided I'm going to, and no one is going to stop me. Beyond that, we will see. And somehow, everything started changing. We got super lucky with the location that we were able to get for the classroom scenes. When we went into principal photography, it was one of the best experiences making a thing in a really long time. Years ago, when I was a wee little girl, I was fed a lot of propaganda about how working in animation is one of the most collaborative experiences ever. It started with those behind the scenes videos of what it's like working at Disney or Pixar, where everyone's like the best of friends and they love their job. When in reality, a lot of those same people in those clips hate their lives and they're smiling for the camera. Think about that a little bit and how dystopian that is. And then it happened again in art school when my teachers and professionals, everyone kept telling me that you're gonna have to learn how to work in a team. You have to be a collaborative person. All the stupid corporate bullshit that doesn't actually mean anything. As one of the only people who will tell it to you straight, regardless of how much you're going to hate me for it, there is no collaboration in animation. At the very least, corporate animation at any of the big studios. None of it is collaborative unless you count taking orders from your boss as collaborative. The reality of working in animation is it's a soulless corporate desk job, but instead of clacking around on a keyboard, you're clacking around on a Cintiq. I discovered by making my short film that filmmaking is the polar opposite of what animation is. For example, I've recently started filming this found footage horror movie in town. I worked out the blocking and made sure the actors and the extras had to do certain things on different cues. Vincent was camera op, so he had to pan the camera and move a certain way right as actors hit their marks or said their lines. Everyone from slate to sound had to sync up and do their best work at the exact same time in order to get the shot. It takes commitment, skill, and a little bit of luck for it all to work, but once it does, the feeling of getting the shot at the end of the day and seeing it all happen is really, really, really exciting and satisfying. It's the coolest feeling in the world, and it's everything I wanted animation to be. And it's only possible if you can get yourself to trust in other people's expertise and let them cook. I can't tell you how many times I've been hired as a professional in animation just to have my hands tied behind my back and be told to not do what I'm really good at. It doesn't make sense to me that these companies require people to train for years to develop the skills you need to get hired as a storyboard artist, only to be given arbitrary busy work and doing data entry that a monkey can do. It's the most frustrating experience that I'm thankful to have because it's taught me to not do that to other people when I'm leading them. Because making my film was such a great experience, I realized I had an answer to Vincent's question. I do want to do this. Since then, I've gone to a bunch of different festivals, met some incredible people, and there are a bunch of new film projects I'm really excited to work on. So for anyone who's potentially thinking about making a life change like this, don't let those crusty, dusty critics who have never done anything valuable in their life to begin with influence what you can or can't do with your life. And as an aside, there's no such thing as a blacklist. The idea that someone says, this is a small town and I control most of it, you're never gonna work in this town ever again, that's just the movies. The people who have said that to me, you don't know a goddamn thing about Hollywood. Don't talk to me. And if you did, you would understand that people don't really consider the people who work in animation part of Hollywood. If you want proof, go back and look at some interviews from Brad Bird right before he made the transition from Pixar to Mission Impossible. You will see how frustrated he got because everyone just assumed, oh, you're an animator. Cute. How do you like this live action thing? Hard, right? Long story short, YOLO, do what you want. Life's too short. We're all gonna die one day.